Hello, welcome to the first part of my review of the March 2018 My Monthly Hero Kit. In this video, we will be unboxing the kit as well as making 5 cards with it. And stay tuned to part 2, which will be coming up soon. So sit back and enjoy. Alright, so here is the kit. This is our sentiment stamp kit. It is really adorable. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it at first when I first saw it, but as I looked at it more, I was like, actually, this is a really fun kit. It is all sentiments, as you can see. So let's get this undone. So on the front, we have all our stamps. There are tons of sentiments in this kit and plenty of places where you can build your own. Like here's a hello there, yay, hi friend, all these wonderful things, plus some little extras to add to your cards. There's also this really rustic thing. It's not a basic clean stamps kit. It almost has a chalkboard look to it. And now there's also these beautiful dies with it. And you get a thank you, hugs, hello, as well as a thought bubble and some other little things for your embellishing your cards. And they even have the dies to cut out some of the words. Like this one cuts out the free hugs and amazing. The little banner die cuts out the wishes, if I can get it straight, as well as the bestest. I believe even the U. Yep, even the U. And then this little banner die cuts out this little banner, which you can put your words in. You have a little diamond for the 4 that's in this kit, as well as a wonderful little tag cut that you can put any of these little sentiments on to add a little bit more embellishment to it. You get a nice filigree hugs, hello, as well as a thank you. And like I said, the thought bubble too you can use, which is really fun too, if you like doing thought bubbles on your cards. Now this kit has a lot of stamps with it, and they're great for building tons of sentiments. And here's some that you may not have seen because it was on top of the logo. There's also this wonderful paper that's on the back. It's a Color Me paper. They've made it so that you could color it. I think it's pretty by itself, as well as this one too. Now, in your second packet, you're going to get all the little added extras. All right, so let's unbag this. First thing I want to show you is the wonderful embossing powder. It is a silver glitter embossing powder. And then you get your little cube of unicorn white, and they put a clear lid on this time so people didn't get confused, which I think I like better. And this beautiful little sequin mix with silver stars, clear iridescent sequins, as well as a matte, and yes, they are very matte, frosted sequins. Now you get a huge amount of paper in this kit. Usually they give you 1 or 2 sheets, but they give you 4 of each color in this kit. You get 4 of the craft, you get 4 of the white, and it is heavy cardstock. And of course you get 4 of the black. But that is I have to say, is the most I've ever seen. But look at all this paper. Like I said, look at that. Look at all that paper. It's a huge amount. All right, so let's get into the first card. For this card, I'm going to start with a sentiment for inside the card form. And I'm using a white card form. Using You Are a Great Friend. And I'm doing that in the Tangelo ink from Memento. And for this part, I'm going to do something really fun. I got this striped paper that I've had in my stash forever. So I'm going to just take lots of, and I'm going to stamp it in the tuxedo black along these lines. And I'm trying to get this as straight as I can, though sometimes I do go a little off, but it's fine. And I'm just going to keep on going, putting this down on it until it fills every line. I could have done every other line, but I felt like I wanted to have the lots of be a focus of the sentiment that I'm putting. I'm really loving this glass mat that I got. It makes stamping like this a lot easier because if I go over, I'm not going, oh no, I've got it all over my mat. And it washes off like a dream. And there we go, we're getting down these lines. I love that you can build all kinds of different sayings with this kit. There's that. I'm going to pull back this tape a little bit so that way I can get in there. All right, now I'm starting to move, so let's get that tape back down. It should have dried by now. This is a fun way to make a new pattern on the pattern paper you already have. I mean, you see stamped sentiments on paper all the time, but I figured with the lines, it would be easier to line it up because I have seen this done where it wasn't lined up. But I figured let's line this one up. All right, so we've got lots of going down. I think this is the most time-consuming part of the whole card, but it's so worth it for the end. And we're getting down to the end here. All right. One more, lots of, all right. So now I'm going to remove this from there. And of course, clean up my mess that I have here. All right. So now I have made some beautiful lined pattern paper out of my alcohol inks. And I'm going to use my hugs. If you haven't checked out my alcohol inks, they are on my site right now. And I've also done a video on this, and this was one of the panels that we made on it. So feel free to watch that video also. I'll leave a link down below. And I'm going to cut out the hugs out with that beautiful die that came with the kit. So now I'm going to cut a little die cut heart with my stitched heart die. I'm going to choose the sentiment, sending lots of. So now I'm going to put a piece of craft foam on the back of my paper panel, just to give that card some raise and also give that paper a little bit more stability. So we're going to attach this to my card form that we've already put our sentiment in. And then I'm going to adhere this with my roller onto the front. I almost raised the heart, but I decided not to. And then I'm going to position this hugs on the card. And in a way, sadly, it is covering up part of the sentiment the way I have it laid out. But any other way, it just was not going to work either. So I'm just going to leave it that way where it's covering up part of it. Get my multimedia mat, and I'm going to put little dots of this adhesive on it. Another trick for adhering really intricate dies like these is buying some Stick It. You put it on your back of your paper and you run your paper through your die cut machine and it ends up being like a sticker and it's really great. Or if you have one of the Xylon or whatever the brands sticker machines, you can do that too. But for these, I'm just going to use my good old glue because at this point I'm a little out of Stick It. So there is that card, and I'm going to bring in our embossed circle sequins, and they're in a rainbow of colors, just like the rest of this card. And I'm going to lay 3 little sequins on there just to give it some shine. There's our card. All right, next card. All right, so I'm putting Sending Hugs inside the card in black tuxedo black ink from Memento. And for this card, I'm going to be using a piece of vellum that I also did my alcohol inks on that gave it a nice, almost semi-marbled appeal. And I'm going to lay this across my panel. So I'm going to put some adhesive for about as wide as it is. And I'm going to snip off the excess so I don't have too much in the back. Then I'm going to line this up as well as I can. One good thing about having grids on your back of your work surface is you can easily line things up. And I'm going to stick that to that panel. And I think I might even add a little bit of adhesive on the top and the bottom just to hold it down better. And I'm going to really crease it now that I know it's adhered. All right, for the first part, I'm going to die cut the hugs one more time in black cardstock. And then I'm going to take another piece of cardstock and I'm going to stamp Thinking of You in that beautiful sparkle silver embossing powder. So I'm going to take my embossing ink pad and ink that up, get my anti-static tool ready because it's always a good thing to have. And I'm going to do that. Let's get this sparkle going on. I was really surprised by how beautiful this embossing powder was. I was going, it's a sparkle. Is it really going to coat well? It does. It coats beautifully. And the sparkle is very pretty. So let me get all cleaned up. All right, so now I'm going to trim off this and make it into a little flagged banner. So let's narrow this down a little bit. Oop, and I cut that just a little bit crooked. Make sure I get that a little straighter. All right. So I'm going to snip this, like I said, in just a kind of like one double-sided kind of slash design here. And I was going to put it on top of the hugs, but I thought maybe it was too much. So I'm going to separate them. Thinking of You on the bottom, and it's going to actually, in a way, hold down my vellum a little better so that it doesn't flap up in the card. And once again, I'm going at this with my Multi-Ranger medium matte and just laying down some little glue dots just to hold this hugs in place. Another technique too with these dies would be to stack them. I have seen them being stacked. I just decided for these cards I didn't need them to be stacked. I just wanted them to be single layered. But stacking them does give them some extra dimension. And that one I'm just going to go over with a roller. All right, now I'm going to adhere some craft foam to the back. As you know, I do love to do this. I love the amount of raise it gives to the cards. It's not too much, not too little, and it's an even enough surface that it doesn't bend or crush, unlike craft tape. So it's like you're almost making your own craft foam sheet, a self-adhesive craft foam sheet. Gray craft card form, and put that on top. Now to embellish this, I am going to use some beautiful ombre pearls I have, and they're in a blue and a green. I think this is a sapphire and green, in fact. And I'm going to get them in a couple sizes on my mat here. And I am going to just make sure I got this hugs down enough. It feels like it's raised a little bit. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to put some dots of my adhesive down so I can put these pearls on there. A lot of these pearls are back in stock in the store. There's only one color that we have actually out of stock right now. We are getting some more solids coming in probably by the end of this month, as well as some rhinestones coming into the store. So look forward to that. Like I said, the alcohol inks are currently up, so if you're looking to buy alcohol inks, they are there. And like I said, we'll have a link to the video where I introduce the alcohol inks and show the best tips and techniques on how to use it. All right, and I'm just going to adhere these down. And for some reason, I still am unable to locate my stick it tool. I don't know why. All right, so here we go for card number 3. This one I'm going to stencil this pattern as a Tim Holtz collection stencil. It's a linen kind of technique to it, and it's really pretty. So I'm going over this with my Distress Oxides. I believe I'm using the Spiced Marmalade, the Worn Lipstick, and the Fired Brick. And I am just going across this in a diagonal pattern over my stencil. Sorry for the shaky video. Let's see if I can get this table to hold still. And I'm just going to go across this stencil and leave a beautiful, splendid stencil design on it. When I was going through my stencils, I saw this one. I said, oh, this one is so pretty. And I've never used it on a video here, so I was like, let's try it out. All right, so we're almost done as I'm putting some more down on it. And as you see, there's that beautiful, almost burlap linen design to it. Actually, it might even be a burlap one. I can't remember if it was linen or burlap. All right, so I'm going to move that off our panel. Next thing we're going to have is going to be our inside sentiment. And for this, I chose Hello Friend. And I'm going to stamp this down in 3 ombre colored inks. The first one is going to be the Tangelo, then followed by, I believe it is the Rosebud, and then followed up by the Rhubarb. I'm just going to make sure I get a good coating. There we go. Let that dry. All right. And I am going to cut out in white cardstock the hello. So let's get our panel with some craft foam on it. Get that ready. I always try to correspond because I get some funky colors in my craft foam when I order it, and I try to always correspond it with a card. Sometimes it's hard, and sometimes I have only little fragments left. Oops, I feel like there's some ink left on this mat. Let me make sure I get it all off. All right, back to gluing. So I'm going to put this glue on there. Adhere this craft foam. So let's put this, I'm going to put this on top of my panel here. And I am going to put the hello on the bottom, and here I am going in with the Ranger Multimedia ink and just making sure I get some all along the curvature of the words. I almost wish with these I had stick it. If I use them in the future, I will definitely probably cut them out with some stick it behind it. It does make this easier, especially when you have intricate dies like this, to actually adhere it well to a card. And I have to say that Stick It brand is one of the best on the market. I've tried the other adhesive sticker back, double-sided adhesive, and it just does not sit as well as his does. You just put it down and you can remove it a little, and when you want it down permanently, you just push it down really good. I'll leave a link to that down below too, just in case you bought this kit and you're looking for a better way to adhere it to a cards. I mean, you can do it with glue, you can do it with any adhesive you want. Now, I felt like this hello kind of hid in the design of the background. Maybe it was just too light of a color, I don't know. So I'm going to go in my fresh, I think it's picked raspberry, my Tim Holtz Distress Inks. I'm just going to go over this hello a little bit and just make it look a little bit brighter. And of course, I noticed a couple areas that didn't stick while I was doing it, so let's put that down a little bit better. All right, but still, I don't feel like it's enough. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go over it with my lacquer pen. I really do love this lacquer pen. It adds just enough shine, but I'm going to do something a little different. Instead of just putting lacquer pen, you're going to see in a minute, I'm going to add a little bit more added dimension, just to make this hello stand out a little bit more. I'm going to come in with some iridescent glitter, and I'm going to shake this onto this card, onto the drying lacquer, and I'm just going to make sure I get it in some good places there. Isn't that pretty? And it kind of makes it pop out more against that background. And yes, there's a few little pieces on the front of the card, but it won't stick. It'll just blow off. All right, so now I'm going to embellish this with my pink and orange Ombre Pearls, since it keeps in that family of colors that are going on in this card. All right, let's get these dots down. There we go. I think it's almost time to fill this applicator bottle again. It's getting a little harder to push the glue out. Yeah, there we go. And I was going to get my tweezers, but they're not holding onto the pearls well. So I'm just going to use my fingers and get it in very well. Another way, if you don't have access to a pickup tool or tweezers, or that is, you know, those old finger moistening pads they used to have at banks and stuff. You can moisten your finger with one of those sometimes too. I usually just put it on a wipe and wet my finger and do the same thing. It actually helps you pick it up. All right, and I'm using 3mm, 4mm, and 5mm in this. There we go. All right, now for this card, I am going to go down in a line with the word thank you in the white unicorn pigment ink that came with it. And I'm just going to try to line these up as well as I can. I'm trying to line it up with the grids. Some of them are going off a little bit, but that's fine. You won't see it once I put all the other elements onto this card. I think, once again, this is the most time-consuming part of this whole part. And we're almost there. Oop, one more on the bottom. Let me move that tape over so it doesn't stamp on it. There we go, a little bit on that U. All right, so I'm going to put this aside and let it dry. Hopefully I can let it dry enough before I need to take it back in. And my video came off. I had already done this, but I did the thank you so much on it in black Memento ink. There it is, like that. There we go. I've been having some issues with my camera. It keeps on stopping and recording by itself. I don't know why. And I also did the so much in the silver glitter embossing on a piece of circle vellum. And I cut it out cube in white cardstock. Alright, so when I put all these elements together, we're going to make a beautiful card. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get some white craft foam and I'm going to apply it to the back of this panel. Apply it really good. Just let you know, I did end up heat setting my pigment ink. That's one thing with pigment ink, it takes a while for it to dry, so I did heat set it a little bit before I started making this card because I didn't want it to smear too much, though I did get a little bits of it that did, but we'll just wipe that off. And as you see, I got a little bit on the side of the card too when I was doing that, but not to worry, I'm going to end up covering it with this panel anyway. I'm just going to lay out this card. And I am actually, if I remember correctly, I did not do it out of white cardstock, that thank you. It is actually out of white pearl cardstock. I just remembered. And I'm going to set that right on top there. And you notice I put a little bit of glue behind the embossed sentiment because it is a great way to hide your glue behind vellum, because vellum and glue are not a good mix. And sometimes it's hard to adhere your vellum. So I'm going to let my sentiment and my die cut hide it for me. So that way it sticks to the card without looking like it's being stuck to the card. And now I'm going to stick this thank you down. So here's the thank. I got a little glitter on there too for the last one. Alright, so we're going to do the U. And sorry that's off screen as I'm gluing it. And there we go. Let me get a little bit more glue under this U. It's just not sticking down to where I like it. But as you see, it's going to hold down that vellum for me on the top. So now I'm going to put some beautiful checkerboard rhinestones on this card. I mean chessboard rhinestones. Let me say that correctly. Either one would work, of course. We have these in the shop and they're really beautiful. They have this almost like little chessboard, checkerboard pattern in their facets. They're not a traditional facet and they're super pretty. They sparkle really nicely because of all the facets in them. I bought them in clear and we do have some colored ones on the way also. So when they do come in, check them out or check out the clear ones. And there we go. Let me see if I can bring it up closer so you can see that chessboard pattern. See how it has that different little facet? For our last card for this video, I am going to actually use some homemade glitter paste that I made. I probably will end up doing a video on how to make it. I was going to make some for the store, but I just don't think I could sell it to you in a cost-effective way. So I will probably just share my recipe with you. But isn't this pretty? It's a really simple recipe too. The ingredients can be a little expensive, but it really does go a long way. And I'm just going to put this over this beautiful Moroccan stencil that came in, I believe it was the December kit from my Hero Arts. And it is really gorgeous. And I love the pattern in this. It's almost got a caned look to it. All right, so we're going to pull this off and let it dry. Then I'm going to, of course, wipe down this mess I made all over my glass mat. So that's the point of the glass mat. It works fantastic. It's easy to clean. And we'll just dry it off a little. There we go. Let me get that out of our way. Now, by the magic of making one ahead of time, I have another one already dried and ready to go. Isn't that pretty how it sparkles? All right, so I'll put that over there, and I'm going to get my golden craft card form out. And we are going to cut out a stitched heart out of vellum, and then a smaller stitched heart out of the same golden craft. And then I am going to also die cut out the thank you in pearl white cardstock. Yep, there goes my vellum piece. It's popping up. One thing I know is when you die cut vellum, sometimes it pops up. It kind of curls. I don't know why, but it did. All right. And I'm going to use the sequins that came with this kit to embellish it. So this is pretty much everything we're going to need to make this card, other than the craft foam that I'm going to bring in next. Alright, so let me get that out of the way. But first, let's put our sentiment in. And for this, I decided to use that four diamond, as well as the everything you do. And I'm going to get this a couple times in that tuxedo black ink so that it gets really nice and dark. Alright, so we're going to let this sit aside and dry while we do the rest of the card. Alright, so I do not have a full sheet of white craft foam. I don't know why, so I brought out some little fragments, and I am going to cut them down to fit this card panel. So first things first, I get my glue roller, and I'm going to put this down. Let me go this way where it's wider. I can always trim off the excess. This will also help this panel not roll up so much, because it will, when it dries, I find the glitter paste kind of does roll the panel up a little bit, just like watercolor would, or anything that was liquid being put on it. After all, you are putting almost like glue in it. I think one of my next videos, maybe I'll show how to make it. We'll see. Alright, so the next thing we're going to put on is our beautiful Vellum Heart. But first things first is we're going to put this golden craft heart on the top. That way I can hide my glue underneath it on the vellum. That's the thing. Always find ways to adhere your vellum without showing it. And that's the best way. If you have an embellishment, use it to hide your glue, because nobody can see that past that embellishment. So I'm going to now put this thank you on with my glue. course, had to unclog my tip a little bit. It was just a little bit clogged. And I'm just going to put this all along this thank you. As much as I can. And I'm going to put that down above that, over that golden heart. Now let's put some glue on that U. That looks perfect. There we go. Now I'm going to come in with those sequins that came here. For this one, I wanted to use that matte circles, the matte sequins that came with this in the white, because I feel like there's enough glitter everywhere else on this card that it didn't need any more. I love mixing different materials on cards. It's so much fun. Between the sequins and the paper, glitter paste, watercolors, you name it. I love mixing them because it makes your cards really unique and different. And it's a great way to mix stamp with other mediums too. Let me put a little bit of glue underneath that sequin. So hold down that vellum a little bit. There we go. And like I said, that's a great way. Put it under your embellishments too. And there is that card. So here's a preview of those 5 cards we made in this video. So stay tuned for part 2. It is coming right after this. It's already in production. And like always, thanks for watching, and remember to like and subscribe.